company doing engineering work until about 2022. So we get invited to government projects. And one thing I forgot to mention, we are an Indigenous company. We're registered with CCAB, Canadian Council of Aboriginal Businesses, and also with Qalipu, which is the First Nations band here on the island. My wife is actually president of the company, so she's full status along with all of our daughters. I self-identify. It started out as a drone services company where we did three-dimensional mapping using photogrammetry, LiDAR, and also using thermal imaging not only for finding underground buried pipe leaks, but also doing thermal analysis of buildings, heat loss, energy loss, and that's how we started. And then once the engineering started to evolve and we became a full-fledged engineering company, that drone then became a surveying instrument. Surveying for creating three-dimensional contour maps, like you would see in video games. We've sold imagery to clients that had nothing to do with surveying or engineering. It's just they didn't create three-dimensional models for games. So that's a tool now that we use, no different than what your computer would be. What we do with that technology is, especially if you're doing 3D, what's called photogrammetry. And all photogrammetry, you can do with your phone. All you need is the software. We use a software called Aguathuna Metashape. And there's also Pix4D, which is kind of the industry standard. And what it is, if you take a series of photos with overlaps, front and back, and basically the technology knows based on your phone or with your drone, especially if you're drone, because you use DJI drones. They're the best drones for the work that we do. It knows at what elevation the photo was taken, at what angle was taken, and the software using an algorithm will line up the photos and look for 40,000 common points in each one of the photos with the surrounding photos. And for accuracy purposes, we lay out survey points using surveying instruments, GPS. That's ground control. We'll put those up before we fly the drone. And it's a time saver because when you look at, we just finished one drone flight where it would have taken a survey company about a week to do. We end up doing the flight in under an hour, and giving us, instead of giving a few thousand points, would actually give us 100 million points, where everything from leaves on trees are picked up. And then we take that, create our three-dimensional models. We'll wipe out the trees, show the ground, and then we'll bring that surface and stuff into our CAD software like Civil 3D. You can bring it into MicroStation, those types of engineering software. And with the surface, then you can actually design roadways, three-dimensional. So everything's done three-dimensionally. Not in the 2D world. Like when I first started, I was a manual drafts person. So everything I did was on board. Now everything is done three-dimensionally. And what we're finding when we hire on people now that are like under the age of 30, they understand three-dimensional better than what we ever did. I think for myself, technology's always interested me, and I think that's because of that interest, we're willing to invest more into technology. Well, you look at your phones. This is an iPhone 14 Max, right? So, or Ultra Max, and so this will do three-dimensional LiDAR scanning. We have a couple of these in our company. We don't even go into buildings now with measuring tapes anymore. We go in with the phones, or we have a ground-based, what we call a LiDAR scanner, laser scanner. We'll set it up in a room on a tripod, and it'll scan to the millimeter every piece of the room. And that differentiates us because a lot of engineering companies don't They don't invest in that technology. They won't invest in the drones because it's easy to buy things. It's very hard to train people and then keep those people within your organization. Where we've never approached that. I'm a registered drone pilot. I'm also a registered flight trainer. So as part of if you want to become a drone pilot, you have to write a national exam. There's two levels. There's basic level and advanced. If you want to become advanced, fly in restricted airspace around airports and to sell the service, you need to write the national exam, and you have to take a ground flight school for that. And we've got one coming up for 3 people within our company because the more pilots we had, the more flexible we are. We started off at a wrong time. I think that if we had started, I'm happy that we started the company when we did. Now, we did accumulate a lot of debt because, again, when you're starting a business, a lot of the things that you plan out, of course, as your students know, is once you go through the programs, is that you need to have capital to start you off. I think some of the biggest things we got into is like we were kind of lucky or unlucky where at the beginning we didn't have to compete for work, so we didn't know how to compete for work. That was one thing, and then once we had to compete for work, then we realized, wow, this is not as easy to grow, and you're hiring people. So when you hire someone, the big challenge with hiring that person is that uh, you need to train them. Number one, in our world, it takes about 2 years for someone straight out of school to finally hit their stride. And it's probably usual. That's usual for a lot of industries. But for ours specifically, we're that, you know what, they feel more comfortable. Now we've been really lucky. We've hired on through the Qalipu First Nations program. They have a training program where if it's someone within as a member of their band, they'll hire them on it, and they'll finance up to 75% of their wage up to minimum wage and training. And we've been very lucky. Everyone we brought through that program, it's just taken them months really to wow. You feel comfortable, you feel very confident they know what they're doing. It doesn't mean that they know everything, but that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when someone starts on day one, they're not making money um, until about 4 or 5 months down the road, and because you've got to have somebody with them to train them. But we'd like to grow our employee base, and the employees that we do like are employees that have been having trouble finding work. And the reason behind that is like we like to see them grow and learn, and with that too comes loyalty, right? You know, is finding the right people that want to work into the company, and right now we're not at the stage where we can do profit sharing, but we will. So in the next 5 years, another key thing when it comes to retaining employees. It's not necessarily pay. It's retirement benefits. It's whatever your other benefits that your company has. Profit sharing is big, and it's the sense of being part of something. But that doesn't replace mentoring. You need mentors. If you graduate and you have intentions of creating a certain business, mentoring, finding a mentor, either through a mentorship program, through CBDC, or because they have mentoring, they can hook you up with mentoring programs, or go and work for a company for a number of years and get the experience there, and then build up. Not only do you build up your skill level, but you also build up connections. Connections are big in business. So in order to start a business, you need two things. Number one is the knowledge and what you want to do. The other thing is money. You need to have enough money to get your business, and if you're providing a service, your service is established, your clientele established. The big mistake is almost like when we started this business. Biggest mistake, we thought, oh, that's great. Hey, we got a business. Everybody, we live in this community. Everybody knows us, and they're just going to give us all the engineering work. That's not the way it goes. Unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, it's going to take a couple of years to really hit your stride. It's going to be some tough days. My advice to somebody starting out and stuff: keep your costs down as much as possible, because it's going to take time before you actually establish yourself in the market. If you go into business and think that it's all about money, 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 no. Business is about people, and it's also like, for us, we pride ourselves in making sure projects are done ethically, and also protect the environment. We try our best to abide by those rules and those laws, and not only federally, provincially, but also from our culture. If we don't take care of the environment, and we don't take care of everybody that's around us, then there's not going to be nothing left. So ethics for us is the biggest thing that we take from our heritage. People are just starting out, and it's overwhelming. It's great, like from an entrepreneur standpoint, and that's what we are. We're entrepreneurs. We're considered a small business, and there are tax breaks for small business. There are grants for small businesses. And there are tons of grants out there. Take advantage of everything that you can. Especially for us, whereas Indigenous, we do have certain advantages and certain uh, projects are called takeaways, which you need to have certain percentage of Indigenous participation, or they're just Indigenous projects. We got advantages that way, but like when it comes to people just coming out from school and stuff, it's the first you have all that energy, you have all that gusto and all that, and the big thing is just controlling that enthusiasm and making smart decisions, and don't do it based on your heart, do it based on your mind, because I've done that. I made a lot of mistakes based on my heart. If you want your business to succeed, people are your most important asset, and so making those first choices of who you want to work with